Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Now, today is a pretty exciting video because I'm going to show you the entirety of my CD collection. And I have over 1,100 CDs, so I'm not going to do that in one video because that would just take like something like 11 hours. Or if I were to do it in a 2-hour video, I would just have to skim through the CDs very quickly, and that would be no fun at all. I'm going to take my time and I'm going to do one letter per video. So today we're gonna tackle letter A, and then in the future episodes we're gonna do the rest of the letters of the alphabet, and then I'm gonna hopefully put all these episodes together in a playlist so that you can go and watch all the episodes from the beginning to end if you want. Now, in terms of the shelving of my collection, you saw in the thumbnail my main shelf, and that is where I hold all of my metal and hard rock CDs. So in terms of metal, there's so much. You'll find literally everything in my collection, from metalcore to new metal to thrash metal to power metal to symphonic metal to progressive metal to avant-garde to melodic death metal to brutal death metal, technical death metal, like literally folk metal, literally anything you can think about. And then there's some hard rock bands like Guns N' Roses and stuff like that. So hard and heavy is in the shelf behind me. It's one you can see behind me. Then I have another shelf that I'm going to link here, and that shelf holds all the other genres, and it's indie rock, progressive rock, classic rock, alternative rock, hip hop, pop, some electronic music, singer-songwriter. There's a lot of other genres to be found there. Now, I started buying CDs around 2003, I would say, in a continuous manner. Before that, sure, I had some CDs, but I would buy them sporadically. Most of the times I would just, listen to the songs on MTV and download the songs and make a compilation and stuff like that. But ever since 2002, 2003, and starting with Avril Lavigne's Let Go, I started buying CDs in a quite a continuous manner, and it hasn't stopped in these last 21 years, and that's why I've amassed such a big collection. But the important thing to me is that I have an emotional connection to each and every CD I have on the shelf. I don't want to have random stuff for the sake of collecting. I don't want to have stuff that's piled in my shelves that I don't listen to. I really want to make my collection all about quality and about stuff that I genuinely love listening to. That's why the last 3 years I've been downscaling my CD collection quite a bit, and I've sold probably around 150 records. That's because I really want to have the stuff that I like, and I have an emotional connection to me. And that's the thing that makes me happy and makes me fulfilled as a music collector. So just a few quick notes on alphabetizing and how I alphabetize my collection. Now, in terms of artist names, like for instance Fiona Apple, I go usually with a first name. So Fiona Apple would go into F and not into A. So I would go with a name and not with a surname. I know other people do it the other way around, but that's the way I'm gonna do it in these videos. And for the bands that start with the word the, I'm gonna go with the actual name of a band. So if we're talking about the Beatles, you will find the Beatles in B. And that's in order not to clog the T letter too much and have these bands distributed amongst the catalog. So let's get on with it. Okay, so first band I have on the list is, weirdly enough, the last record that I bought, and that is why it's still wrapped. And it's from A Forest of Stars with the album Beware the Sword You Cannot See. And this is a black metal band with gothic metal influences, very theatrical in the vein of Cradle of Filth. So if you like Cradle of Filth, give them a chance. Next up, I have Maynard's second band, A Perfect Circle. And these are their first three albums. This is actually a cover album from 2004, in which you have Great Imagine. And these are the two masterpieces from A Perfect Circle. But my favorite one is surely the 13th Step. Next up, we got Aerosmith, classic rock band, and I have just some of their albums, and these are the albums that I prefer. That are from the late 80s, early 90s. So Permanent Vacation, Pump, and Get a Grip. And also I have Nine Lives, which follows it. I have also a greatest hits by Aerosmith, because this is a band that I feel that has such a wide catalog and so many great songs, even in their 70s material, that it's worth having a big sprawling greatest hits that has based something like, you know, three discs, something like 34 songs. So it's a really well representative greatest hits of the band's catalog. Okay, next up is the band The Agonist, and I have quite a few of their albums. This is a Canadian band. Alyssa White-Glotz of Arch Enemy was formerly in this band before she joined Arch Enemy, and this is a very experimental band, focusing on melodic death metal, I'd say metalcore, some prog elements. They fuse a lot of styles, and they are an amazing band, and I think that their masterpiece is their second album, Lullabies for a Dormant Mind. But I also have their debut album and their third album and last album with Alyssa White-Glotz, Prisoners. It's very, very good. Then they changed vocalists. The only albums I have with past vocalists before they sadly decided to quit is this album here, Orphans, from 2019. Very, very good. And this is the last thing that they put out as a band. And it's the EP Days Before the World Wept. And this has some amazing, amazing songs on it. Like, for instance, the title track is amazing, or Remnants in Time. Next up, we got the singer-songwriter Alanis Morrisette. And I have her seminal album, Jagged Little Pill, from 1995. I got her third album mainly because of the singles that I really love, like Hands Clean and Precious Illusions. I love those songs. And then I have her greatest hits, which spans, I think, her first 5 albums with all her greatest songs, and it has a bonus DVD, and it's pretty cool. Yeah, I really like Alanis Morissette, especially her early works. Next up is the pop punk band All Time Low, and this is their my favorite album from them, and it's Don't Panic. Next up, we got the Scottish power metal lads from Aerosmith, a really fun band. I've seen them so many times live. I love all their albums, and I have all their discography. Captain Morgan's Revenge, Black Sails at Midnight, the album with which I discovered them, which is Back Through Time, my favorite album from Aerosmith. Then we got Sunset Over the Golden Age, the amazing No Grave But the Sea, and then we got Curse of a Crystal Coconut and their last album. And I love how these guys basically went from being a power metal band, straight up power metal band, to infusing so many elements and being like almost a comedy band in these last albums. Next up, I got Alice Cooper, Raise the Dead, live from Wacken, and I only got this because I was at that show back in 2013, and he played a great show. I'm not a really big fan of Alice Cooper, but I love seeing him live, and that's why I got this live DVD. Next band is Alter Bridge, and I got these 2 albums, Blackbird and Fortress, from 2013, and these are 2 of my favorite, probably my 2 favorite albums from Alter Bridge. So, next up, I feel, is a band that is pretty divisive. Some people love them, some people hate them. I find them a lot of fun. They mix electropop with metalcore and metalcore breakdowns. They have a great singer in Elise Reed. I'm talking about Amaranth. This is their first album. Then we have The Nexus, second album, my favorite album from them. Third album, Maximalism, Helix, and this is their last album, and then they're gonna release a brand new album in February, at the end of February, so I can't wait for that. Yeah, this is a really fun band, and I've been listening to them ever since 2011 when they started, so yeah, it's been a long time. So next up we got Ambeon with Fate of a Dreamer, and this is a side project from Arian's mastermind, Ariana Lucassen, and this is an ambient album with a lot of electronic passages, beautiful female vocals. I believe that the singer on this album was very, very young when she recorded this. She was only 16. Her name was Astrid, but great vocals. It's ambient music, so you may or may not like it. It's very, very divisive, I feel. It's not one of my favorite projects from him, from Arian Lucassen, but I'm such a fan of the guy and Ayreon especially that I gotta have everything he puts out. Next up, we have the melodic metal band Amon Amarth, and I've only have a few of their albums because I feel that in the latest years they have put up some albums that are not very good, not very inspired, very typical run-of-the-mill melodic death metal that they usually do. But these albums are really good, starting with Versus the World, which has some of their best tracks like Death and Fire. Fate of Norms, pretty good. And this is Without It on our side, and this is probably my favorite album of Amon Amarth. And then my second favorite is Twilight of the Thunder God. I love this artwork, and Twilight of the Thunder God is my favorite song of Amon Amarth. But this whole album is really, really good. And then the last album I have, and the last album I feel you should have from this band is Sulfur Rising. This is still pretty good, lots of good songs. From then on, I think they become, very derivative of themselves and not very interesting in my personal opinion. This album is very good. Next up is a really, really big discography, and probably one of the biggest discographies of the letter A, and that is the Finnish melodic folk, progressives, melodic death metal, whatever you want to call them, band Amorphis. And yet, I don't have their debut album, Tales from the Thousand Lakes, because I'm not a big fan of doom metal, but I do have basically all of the other albums. From their early works, like Elegy, Tuonela. This is their album Ad Universum, which has like kind of a grungy alternative rock feel to it. And then I have what I call the classic era of Amorphis with Tommy Youtsen, and starting with the album Eclipse, and then we have Silent Waters and Skyforger and The Beginning of Times and Circle and Under the Red Cloud, which I feel is probably one of their best albums. Queen of Time is another one of their best albums, incredible. And then closing off with their latest albums, Halo. And this is a band that never releases a bad album. They have a couple of, maybe one stinker in their catalog, Far from the Sun. I can't even remember the name of that album. The one released in 2000 or something like that. But yeah, very, very consistent band. So next up is progressive black metal band from the US, An Abstract Illusion, and this is their album Illuminate the Path. And this is Woe, released in 2022, and this was one of my absolute highlights from that year. Great band, they have been greatly acclaimed, rightfully greatly acclaimed, so check them out if you don't know them. Next up, we got an Italian symphonic power metal band, Ancient Bards, and this band to me is one of the best power metal bands ever. I mean, I would rank them up there in the same league as Sonata Arctica, Blind Guardian, Halloween. They have some amazing albums, and this is their first album, The Alliance of the Kings. Soulless Child is absolutely my favorite. Great album. This is their third album, and this is sadly their last album. I'm not sure if they're gonna record anymore. This was from 2019, and it's called Origine. It's got an Italian name. these guys have a great female vocalist in Sara Squadrani, lots of guitar shredding, lots of keyboard parts, epic fantasy themes. They are an incredible band. Next up is Tom DeLonge's side project. Tom DeLonge from Blink-182, of course, side project. And this is Angels and Airwaves. With their first album, We Don't Need a Whisper. Second album, and this is Love Part 1 and 2. There are two albums released in 2010, 2011 that have been put together in this one nice little package. And yeah, I love this band's sound. It's very spacey, very ambitious, very U2-like, but I don't like U2, and despite this, I really like Angels and Airwaves. Next up, another power metal band, and this is from Brazil, Angra, and this is the first album, Angels Cry, and this is Holy Land. And these guys combine some Brazilian ethnic sounds and percussions and making these albums very unique. These are the two albums with Andre Matos on vocals, and they are very, very good, especially Holy Land. I really like it, and this is a compilation from them. So this is a compilation holding the best material from the Andre Matos era and from the Edu Falaschi era. Okay, it's time for some childhood memories, and this is the band Aqua, the Danish band from Aqua that became hugely popular in the 90s with their hit single Barbie Girl, and this band was one of my introductions to music when I was a little kid back in 97 or something like that. And I remember listening to this album over and over again back then. And I had it in cassette. And yeah, I still go back to these albums sometimes. Next band is one of my favorite metalcore bands. And I haven't been listening to this band for a long time. It's been a year or so, but they have really, really captured me. I'm talking about Architects. I just saw them live, and I made a video about it, so check out the video if you haven't seen them. I've just seen them live with Spiritbox. Anyway, this is the first album I have from them, Daybreaker from 2013. Then we got Lost Together, Lost Forever. And then what to me is their best album, All Our Gods Have Abandoned Us. At this point, unfortunately, their guitarist Tom passed away, and these albums mark a little bit of a departure, Holy Hell and these last two. They are a little bit more electronic infused. I still like them. They're a little bit more commercial, and I feel this album, Holy Hell, is still very, very strong. But overall, I think that their best albums, are the straight metalcore ones, like All Our Gods Have Abandoned Us. Okay, next band is the melodic death metal band Arch Enemy from Sweden. And I'm not a big fan of John Leva's vocals, the first vocalist Arch Enemy had. So for me, Arch Enemy really started when Angela joined the band. And this is my favorite Arch Enemy album, Wages of Sin. Then we got Anthems of Rebellion. We got Doomsday Machine. We got Rise of the Tyrant, another great album. And then we have a shift to Alissa White Glutz. And this is another very, very good album, War Eternal. And I even have the other two albums. However, they're in a box set. They're last two albums with Alissa. But hopefully one day I'm gonna make a video about box sets so you can see all of the box sets I have, which they aren't that many, but I'd say 10 or 15 or something like that. Next band is Arcturus, progressive, avant-garde Norwegian band, which has members of Ulver and ex-Timo Borgir members like ICS Vortex. This is La Masquerade Infernale from 1997. This is my favorite album, The Sham Mirrors. An absolutely incredible piece of work. Isahan is guesting on one of these tracks, The Amazing Radical Cut. And then we have the more symphonic Sideshow Symphonies, another great album with ICS Vortex on vocals, and I love ICS Vortex. And this album is great. I also have their latest album, Arcturian, but again, I have it inside a box set. So hopefully one day I'll show you all of these box sets. Okay, time for some quality modern pop music, and this is the artist Ariana Grande, hugely popular. First album, My Everything, Dangerous Woman, Sweetener, which is probably my favorite album from her, and Thank You Next. I'm not really big into her first or last albums, but I do really love these 4 albums. She's got a great voice, great songs, very catchy songs, and she's probably is one of my favorite pop artists of the modern era. So yeah, Ariana Grande. Then we go to Arkona, and this is a fantastic progressive black folk metal band from Russia, and this is their masterpiece from 2009, Goyrod Goy. This is a more catchy and folky album. It's Slovo. And with this one, they go into a more progressive direction, always retaining that black metal and folk metal elements. Yeah, look what a gorgeous cover artwork. Arkona, listen to them if you don't know them. Okay, next band you will only know if you're from Italy, because this duo brought hip-hop to the masses in Italy, and they were hugely popular, especially in the 90s. And yeah, I have all of their discography. Strade di città, first album, this is early 90s, Messa di Respiri, Così com'è, Nessuno, Perché sì, greatest hits. And then with these last two albums, they started infusing some more like singer-songwriter elements and pop album elements with this one, and some more rock elements with this one. And this is, in fact, a pretty nice combination of like rock and hip-hop, and it's my favorite album from them. Released in 2002, Domani Smetto. Okay, next up is Arian Anthony Lucassen with Lost in the New Real, and this is his solo project from 2013. It's kind of very Beatles-esque, classic rock meets psychedelic, Floydy music. So if you're into that, check it out. Arian Lucassen, of course, mastermind of Ayreon. And this is one of my favorite projects from him outside Ayreon. And it's got some incredible also covers in the bonus disc, like Welcome to the Machine by Pink Floyd, or Battle of Evermore by Led Zeppelin. Yeah, great album. Okay, next up is As LA Dying, Shaped by Fire, iconic metalcore band from the US. And moving on, we have a big discography because this is Avantasia, project by Tobias Sammet of Guy. And in this project, he fuses power metal with hard rock and big fantasy concepts. And especially love his first two albums, Metal Opera Part 1 and 2, which is of course one big thematic concept album divided into two parts. And these two albums are very, very power metal oriented. Then he would go more into a hard rock, heavy metal, symphonic metal side in his music. This one is a nice booklet that includes Metal Opera Part 1 and 2, so the discs that I just showed you, but it also has this nice section where he explains, where a lot of photos, and he explains the whole concept behind behind these albums, which is a very long and elaborate concept, very fantasy driven. Yeah, and it's pretty cool, pretty interesting. Then we got from Avantasia in this lovely box set, Wicked Symphony and Angel of Babylon. And so here we have the two albums in this nice box set. We have The Mystery of Time, released in 2013. Oh, sorry, I forgot. After the Metal Opera Part 1 and 2, we have The Scarecrow, which is another one of his best albums. And then the last three albums by Avantasia, I got them on Earbook, which is basically a format of the size of a vinyl, but it has the CDs, as you can see. CDs, instrumental CDs, lots of cool photos and stuff like that. But this is their album Ghost Lights. Then we have Moonglow, which is one of my favorite albums from Avantasia. A lot of great artists featured here. Hansi Kush, Ronika Atkins, Jorlandel, Millet Petrozza, Candice Knight, Jeff Tate, Eric Martin, Bob Catley, Michael Kiske. Lots of great vocalists here. And then this is the last album by Tobias Sammet, also on Earbook, with a very long title. I love the kind of Tim Burton-esque cover artwork he's got here, going on here. This is not my favorite album from him, but yeah, Avantasia, love them. Okay, we're reaching the end of this A letter, but first we have Avenged Sevenfold, and this is a band that has some incredible albums in their catalog. Very consistent band. They only have 2 stinkers in my opinion, which is their very first album and Hail to the King. But the rest is great. Waking the Fallen. Then we got the amazing City of Evil. They're self-titled from 2007. And this is the album with which I became officially a fan of Avenged Sevenfold. This is the album with Mike Portner on drums. And an album that tributed their drummer, the Rev's passing. And yeah, very dark, very brooding, very progressive, incredible album, Nightmare. And then they have the Stage, which is their album from 2016, and this is very progressive, and another great album. And then they came back last year with Life is But a Dream, and this made it into my top 3 of my favorite albums of the year. Incredibly experimental album. Yeah, the cover artwork, it seems like it has been drawn by a 5-year-old, but aside from that, this is a fantastic album. Then we got one of my favorite artists from my teenage years, and I'm talking about Avril Lavigne. So this is Let Go, her first album and seminal album, and this is that when I was a teenager, I spun and listened to so many times. In fact, this copy is right from 2002, so it's 22 years old, man. This is her great follow-up, Under My Skin. Then we have The Best Damn Thing, another really good album. At the time, I was moving more into metal, and I kind of missed this album, but I got back to it a few years later, and it's got a more like up-tempo pop-punk energy, and it's really cool. Then she dove into more of a like pop direction with these 2 albums, and yeah, this one is not very good. But it does have the song What the Hell, and this one I feel is a return to form for her, even though it's still a bit too poppy. You know, I prefer a more pop-punky Avril Lavigne. And with her last album, released in 2022, she made a totally, like, pop-punk album from beginning to end, 30 minutes of pure pop-punk, and to me, that's what she does best. She has some, like, great guests in this album. Machine Gun Kelly, although I really don't like his music. He's great on the track Boys Lie, and of course the great Mark Hoppus from Blink-182. So Avril Lavigne. We reached the end of letter A, and this was a really long letter, but we still have the last artist, and this is the biggest discography probably in letter A, and also my favorite artist in this whole bunch. So stay tuned, because we have the whole discography of Ayreon, the progressive metal / electronic / folk / so many other things band from Arian Anthony Lucassen. Yeah, this is a project from Arian Lucassen, who is a poly-instrumentalist, and he invites all sorts of great guests in his album. And he's done all these amazing sci-fi concepts. This is the first album he made, called The Final Experiment, released in 1995. Yeah, the second one, Into the Electric Castle. This has Fish on vocals. And then you have the Universal Migrator Part 1 and 2, which is kind of the first album is like a straight up like power metal album with prog influences, with lots of singers, like really well-known singers like Timo Coltipetto from Stradivarius, Fabio Leone from Rhapsody, and we even have Bruce Dickinson on this album. Then we got The Human Equation. This is my favorite album from Ayreon. And yeah, it's an incredible concept album. One of my favorite concept albums of all time, featuring James LaBrie, Michael Ackerfeld, Devin Townsend. Yeah, incredible album. Then he remastered the second album in his discography, and it's Actual Fantasy. And this is actually the only album of his which is not a concept album. It's not one of my favorites, but anyways. Then we come to his other incredible masterpiece, 01011001, and I saw this album live in its entirety in Tilburg, the Netherlands, last summer actually, and I made a whole video about it, about my favorite shows of 2023, and that was my favorite show. So check it out if you're interested, if you're a fan of Ayreon. Yeah, this is an incredible album. Then moving on, we got Timeline, and this is just the best of. You know, it's not really essential for me because I have all of his albums, but you know, cool package, and I'm such a fan. Amazing artwork, I had to have it. And moving on, we have 2013's The Fear of Everything. This is probably one of the few albums that from Ayreon that like escapes the whole sci-fi concept, and this is more like real life situations and dealing about science and the theory of everything and scientific concepts and stuff like that, and it's very, very, very good. And this is the album The Source from 2017. And then the last album by Ayreon is a bit different, very theatrical. I got it in an earbook edition, which has all these beautiful, like, it has this comic book associated with it, and it explains the whole story. It's got the amazing Camille Gilbert from Oceans of Slumber on vocals. Yeah, this is not his best album, but still I really like it because I am such a fan of Ayreon. Like, I like everything he's done in this project. No bad albums at all. Maybe except for Actual Fantasy. Anyway, this was the end of the video. We had 30 artists for A. The other letters aren't gonna be so packed, but this one was, yeah, pretty long. So I'm gonna leave you, and hopefully you enjoyed this episode. There are gonna be lots more episodes to come where I'm gonna cover all the other letters of the alphabet. In the meantime, remember to subscribe to my channel, and yeah, see you in the next video.